Aloha, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Triple F Podcast, Faith and Family First. I'm Eva Andrade, your host. I'm here with Jim Hochberg, my co-host, and we're doing something very special because we are celebrating our birthday this week. We have birthdays one day apart, and on this show
every
today,
year it's weird.
It's weird. Why do you always follow everything I do, Jim Hochberg? But anyway, you want to stick with us on this show because this show, we're open, we're raw, and we're going to be talking about some things so you get to know us a little better. So let's chat about that. Happy birthday, dear Jim.
Happy birthday, it's your birthday,
dear Jim. Happy birthday, dear Mr. Hochberg.
Oh, jeez.
It is our birthday this week. I celebrate my birthday on the 29th.
I'm the 28th.
And Jim is on the 28th. And
many years before you.
And that's true. But what is really funny and what's going to be fun about this particular show is that you and I have worked together for a very, very long time.
That's true.
So we want to start the show by clearing up some misconceptions that's out there. No, I am not married to Jim. I have never dated Jim. We are just friends, colleagues, brother, sister.
That's what I would say.
Jim has a beautiful wife, Janet. Hello, Janet. But Jim and I have known each other for a very, very long time. We have some similarities. We have some ways we're polar opposite. But today we are going to be asking each other questions. We are not prepared. I mean, we're prepared with the questions, but neither of us know what questions are going to be asked by the other person.
And we have off-camera questions.
And we have off-camera. God himself is going to be speaking.
I'm not going to say that because the lightning will miss me.
Well, when I say God himself, I do not mean the great creator God. I mean the God of the room, the God that controls the what happens in here, the microphone, who could shut it off right now. But anyway, the point is that we're going to get raw today. And so I want to start by asking Jim Hochberg this particular question.
Okay.
What is your first memory of meeting me back in the early, I want to say 1900s, but that really
I think
dates
that's
us.
when Kelly Rosati was running HFF.
Yes.
So Terry Schiavo was in the news because her estranged or ex-husband, I don't remember exactly, wanted to pull the plug, and her family didn't want the doctors to pull the plug. She was like in a coma. I forget what happened to her. Anyway, it was a really big deal for the pro-life community. So I talked to Kelly, and we did a seminar, a presentation. I don't know. I was just the MC. I didn't actually do any of the presenting because it's not really my area of expertise. We had Bill One, who's a neurosurgeon. I think we had an estate planner. It was either Tom Rulon or Scott McQuilconney. I don't remember, or maybe both.
It might have been both. And wasn't Mark Alexander there as well?
I think maybe Mark Alexander. And you were working the video camera in the back of the room. And that's how I met you.
Well, not only that, I also put together the manual. We actually did a manual.
We had a manual. I mean, I met you because I went to talk to you about something you were in the back of the room videotaping.
Yes, and then it was hilarious because, and this will also date us a little bit, but I think what
I'm married. I don't do that.
Hello. I wish I had one of those. No, but I mean, the other thing that was interesting is I found out that one of the first legal organizations that I had ever donated money to in my young life was the Rutherford Institute.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, see, that's
I was the president of the Rutherford Institute of Hawaii. Was it the Hawaii one or the one in
It was the Hawaii one.
Not the one in Virginia. How nice. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes, because...
Hey, I currently have Hawaii Family Advocates if you can throw some money around.
Well, dude, I don't get a tax write-off. So
no, you don't, but it increases the value of your vote. It's way more valuable than that dumb tax write-off.
Yes. So, but I think what that did, though, and that was back, it was like in 1996, I want to say.
I don't remember. When is it that she... I don't know.
No, because Kelly was not here in 1996. So it had to have been like maybe Kelly's Hawaii Family Forum started in 1998. So it would have been between 1998 and 2003. So it would have been in that window, maybe 2001 or so. I don't know when Terry Schiavo passed,
So
but
if
it was
you're
around that
watching
time.
on YouTube and you can look up when the Terry Schiavo stuff was, put it in a comment, and you'll help us figure this out.
Yeah, and that was the first time I met you, and after that, the rest is
Do
history.
you remember the joke I told that day?
Jim, you tell jokes every time. If I memorize them,
We came back from the break, and you always want to start a presentation with something light before you get into the heavy stuff. This was a very heavy topic. So this is the joke I told, and I have no idea how I remember this because I didn't know you were going to ask me. But anyway, so these 3 old widowers were sitting around like they always do because their wives had died, chatting on Friday nights, and one of them said, "What do you want people to say about you when they're, at the funeral looking at you in your casket?" And the first guy goes, "Oh, I kind of hope they say that I was really a giver to the community and, really
I think I
supported
remember
and all
this
this
joke,
stuff."
yes.
And the second guy says, "Really? That's kind of odd. I want him to look and say, oh, he was such a good father and husband and that kind of stuff." And the third guy goes, "You're both nuts. I want him to look in there and say, hey, he's breathing."
Okay, exactly. I remember this now. Yes, I do. And now I know you have a question for me too, but before we go there, I think what would also be really helpful is for people to know how long it is that we've had a personal relationship with the Lord and serving Him. Jesus, Lord, is King of our lives. And, people that know me know that I'm Catholic and I've been Catholic my whole life. But I actually had a born again experience.
Is this the question you're asking me to ask you?
I'm leading into. No, this is not the question. But at some point, somewhere at a point, throw that in there, your testimony, because I think people want to know. When did that happen? And for me, it was in the 1980s. I was still in high school at the time, and I heard this wonderful pastor on First Assembly of God Red Hill.
Do you realize she's answering a question that wasn't asked?
No, I'm building a foundation, and
okay.
So that people can know. Okay, you are funny. Get to your question.
No. Finish your story.
No, I just heard a great pastor, and I was able to make that beautiful marriage between knowledge of who Jesus is and that personal relationship, and
Who
that
was
changed
that
my
pastor?
life. He had a Hawaiian name, and I know he passed away. This was Jim. This was a long time ago, but it was a great time, and I've been preaching Jesus ever since and doing this job. So, turn it over to you.
Okay, so I was trying to think of birthday questions because I misunderstood the instructions. Now I'm going to have to come up with something off of the
Well, you can
top
do
of
it.
my
You're
head.
an attorney. You can do it.
So people may not know about your military career, but you were in the military. Why don't you tell us why you joined, how you joined, and what your jobs were?
Oh, I love that question. Yeah. So I proudly served in the United States Air Force honorably. And I joined the military because I am a local girl, Hawaii, my whole life.
You were born in Germany.
I was born in Germany because my dad is a local boy from Maui, but he was stationed in Germany, married to my mom. So I was born there, but I came back as a very small baby, small baby kind. And I grew up here, and I graduated high school, and I said, how can I leave Hawaii and have it paid for and have money? And my dad was retired or serving in the military at the time. And I grew up in a military frame of mind, loved everything about the military. So I joined the Air Force, went away. I was in Texas. I was in Mississippi. And my final duty station was Sembach Air Base, Germany. And I loved Germany. I loved everything about it. First of all, I was there almost 20 years to the day of when I was born.
No kidding.
And I gave birth there. And here's the hilarious
That's Amy.
thing. Yes,
Okay.
My oldest daughter, Amy. And what's hilarious is it was an old German doctor that gave birth to, or, that was there. And I said, how long have you been here? I was born at Landstuhl Army Medical Center. And he said, over 20 years. And my mom said it was a German guy that had given birth to me. And I thought, oh my God, that
Same
would be
doctor.
hilarious
Whoa.
if it would be the same doctor. And we lived in the same area, and my jobs in the military, I scored very, very high on the ASVAB in administration. So you know how the Air Force or any of the military branches are, you sign up for them to tell you to do what they want you to do, right? So they stuck me in admin. And so I worked in the fire department. I worked in the post office. I worked in the orderly room. And the orderly room in the Air Force is not like what it is in a hospital. It's a processing. You come in and I met my local brothers there that were lifelong friends. And they've been around my life. And yeah, it was all good. Thank you for that.
So what's the rules now? You ask me a question, or I get to pretend you didn't say something?
Well, before I ask you the next question,
yes,
I think that I want you to give your testimony.
Sure. So my mom was Irish Catholic. We went to church on military bases all over the world, which is different from having a community church, which I learned in my 20s. So going to church on a military base is different every week, depending on what denomination it is and who the pastor is and how. So I went to church and they used a cassette player with jazz music sometimes, or we did communion with hot dog buns, or, I mean, just odd, non-standardized church things. So I was a little bit mixed up on what church really was, but we were raised Catholic. And anyway, so we moved here in 1969, and I started 7th grade, and I was like 11, I think. And I just told my mom and dad I didn't want to go to church anymore because it was a waste of time. I didn't believe any of it. And I had 4 sisters, and my mom and dad were way more worried about my sisters than me. I had 1 older sister and 3 younger sisters. So they kind of let me do my own thing. And this was 1969, 70, 1970, 71, 7th and 8th grade. Then I went to Lelo High School, 71, 2, 3, 4, and I graduated in 75. And those were the post-Woodstock days. Not a lot of church stuff going on in my life. And then I started UH. Anyway, growing up, growing up meaning here, because I don't really have a lot of specific memories because we moved all the time. When the door knock religious guys would come around the street, everybody in my family would go and hide, but I'd wait for the door so I could have conversations with them just to give them a hard time and, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I always was willing to do that. It was a sport for me. If it was a guy with a white short sleeve T-shirt and a tie with a bicycle, I'd have the exact same conversation as if it was a Baha'i person with a ponytail and a robe. I didn't really care. And it was basically challenging you kind of wonder why I became a lawyer, right? Challenging where they were telling me and how true it was and what the evidence for it was and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's me through college. And in 1980, in the spring of 1980, so after Christmas break, that was my last semester of undergraduate school at UH. And I was standing in line to register for classes outside of what used to be Clum Gym, if anybody's been around long enough, before they had all the modern sports stuff down in the quarry. And so I'm just standing in line waiting to get in, and there's like thousands of UH students standing in line waiting to get in the building to go around and register for classes. No computers in those days, It was all by paper and pencil. Anyway, this kid, college kid comes up to me. He wasn't in line, and he had the 4 spiritual laws.
Oh my gosh!
From Campus Crusade,
I remember that.
little booklet, and he asked if he could share it with me. And it was an amazing experience because I didn't want to argue with him. It was like the Holy Spirit just said, "Okay, shut up. This is your turn."
Wow! Wow!
And so I said, "Sure." And he walked me through the thing, the God created and relationship through Jesus, and then sin, and there's the ravine, and you can't get across the ravine to get back to God unless the cross is the bridge. Remember
those
that?
Visuals?
Remember
I
that
know.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So
I
anyway,
remember that.
We went through that whole thing while I was standing in line, and then he and I met every Wednesday for lunch at the little cafe on Upper Campus where the little First Hawaiian Bank was. I forget what it was called. And we went through Romans. And And I remember one day I spilled my drink on his Bible, and I was like mortified. And he really didn't care. He just wiped it off. And I was sort of idolizing this little book where it was actually not the book itself that was important. It was the information, right? Yeah. That had a big impact on me. And then I graduated, and I don't remember the guy's name. Never saw him again at the end of the semester. And then I was starting law school in the fall, and during the summer, I remember when I made the commitment in the bathroom of the Sir Francis Drake Hotel in San Francisco.
Wow.
Because I was being interviewed with, I forget how, maybe 10 of us or something, for a $5,000 a year renewable law school scholarship. If I was going to get that, I could stay in San Francisco and go to Hastings Law School. And I had issues that I didn't want to leave Hawaii about, but then I really wanted to go to San Francisco, blah, 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 or actually anywhere. But that's where the free money was. And I remember just standing in the bathroom and saying, okay, you know what? It's up to you. You put me where you want me to be. It could be here, it could be there. I don't care. And that was my first kind of real prayer. Pretty dumb.
Jim, that's so amazing, because a lot of times when somebody is saved, like, when you think of all the great work that Billy Graham did, people forget that there was someone that led Billy Graham to the Lord. And so when you think about all the great work you've done for religious freedom, it all goes back to that one guy that gave you that track. I think and that's an important message for people, is you never know whose life you're going to touch by when the Lord calls you to do. So before we jump into our next question, let's ask our technology God to give us one of the first questions from
lowercase g.
Yes.
Okay, I can go with that.
So what's our question there, Rennell?
Hey. Well, one, just going off of the testimony, or both of you guys' testimony, what is your favorite Bible verse?
Oh, I'll go first. I like Micah 6:7. I mean, 6, 7, and 8. It's, what does the Lord require of you but to love justice, to do mercy, and to walk humbly with your God?
And that was actually the theme of the Beck and Taylor law firm that Don Beck, Bob Taylor, Jim Hochberg, Scott McQuilconney, and Ken Wong were the partners of for quite a while. And it was above the receptionist desk, which was Alma Irons. And we also had working with us Jake's mom from K-Light, Janny O'Neill.
Great. Oh, that is, I love that, because it's like justice, mercy, and humility.
Correct.
It's the three things that have followed me all of my life. And it's so funny because the justice part is easy. We fight for justice, right? Mercy, it's easy for me in my personality that I really can show mercy. And I think that that's a testament to who the Lord is, because we can never do that on our own, right?
Correct.
The humility one, it drives people crazy, because I never want to put myself out there. I'm always hesitant. I don't, Lord, there's got to be somebody else, that you're calling.
But then you put a microphone in her hand, and all of that disappears. Well, a microphone is
different, because I'm Portuguese. The Lord knew what he was doing when he gave me the mouth he gave me. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be honest. But and what's your favorite scripture?
It's kind of funny. My oldest son went to our Redeemer, and they had to have a favorite scripture. So I'm talking like he left there after 6th grade, I think. And so he picked the shortest one. Do you know what the shortest scripture was?
Jesus wept.
That was his favorite.
Well, this show is not about him, though. What's your favorite scripture?
So mine, I'm trying to remember the Bible citation. It's in Thessalonians, and it's that for through grace you were saved by faith and not by works. That one, I think it's 1 Thessalonians 2, 5 through 8 or something like that, but I'm really not good at the addresses.
If Janet was here, she's good. She's phenomenal. Good. Janet.
I can just say, what's that verse, where it's this, and she'll go, that. Just have to look it up.
That's really good.
No, it's quite a benefit.
That's go Calvary, man. Calvary.
But that is my favorite verse, because during and I also wanted to add, though, I didn't finish on my testimony. Not only was that the first real prayer that I ever had with the Lord, he sent me back to Hawaii to go to law school here. I did not get one of the 5 scholarships, and I believe there were 8 people vying for one. They were all girls but me. I didn't get one. I ended up meeting Scott McCool on the first day of law school because he sat in front of me. He was a very mature Christian already by then, having been a bass player in a Christian rock band while he was in college and on the mainland. And he actually discipled me through law school and after law school. So the Lord actually knew where it was better for me to go to law school.
Again, the perfect call out to what the Lord does when he calls you into a ministry. He leads the right people to walk alongside you. Every moment you just know he's there. It's not easy. And I know that, you know, if you're going to talk about law school, I can talk about military. You know, I chose the work route rather than the school route. I did ultimately go back to college for a while when I went to go work for the diocese, but it was like I'm more of a Martha character, and so I like to do more than sit at the feet of Jesus and learn. And it's just kind of the way that our ministry has worked out for us because God kind of knew where to put us. So let's go back to our questions that are out there, because I think that they'll be more interesting because you and I worked together for so long. So. What you got for us, Renell?
This question comes from Shani, or another technical G. What is your favorite, and this is for Jim, and I actually have one for Eva as well, but this is for Jim. What is your favorite or best meme you've seen so far? It can be political or not.
You mean like a cartoon?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. There's so many. My phone is full of them.
Well, knowing Jim, it's got to have Monty Python somewhere in it. Though.
No, I mean, there's. I don't have a favorite. I just collect them. I love them all. They're great. As
really
you
do.
know,
Yes.
if I have your phone number, you've received them from me.
Or if Jim Hochberg gets your email, just know that you're going to get a million emails every day.
What would my favorite? I don't. They're just very clever.
Jim has such a great sense of humor. I mean, and that's one thing I really want to paint in today's show is that you and I, we love humor.
Correct.
We are Monty Python. You're more of a Monty Python fanatic than I am. I mean, I'm a fanatic, but you like memorize things. You and Scott McCool can like go through the whole list. My family, we would do our Monty Python movie nights when we just needed the good laugh. And I love right now that even as liberal as he is, right?
John Cleese
has been coming out about all of this cancel culture. Yep. And he's very liberal. So he probably would disagree with half of what we do. But understanding that when you're trying to get a message out, you have to be open to what the other side is saying. And this whole cancel culture is driving him absolutely
So speaking,
insane.
Though, of favorite things and speaking of Monty Python together, what I would like our viewers and listeners to do when you have a chance is go to YouTube and search for Monty Python, The Life of Brian, and then ask for the Colosseum scene. Because this movie was made in the 1970s, and it is amazingly prophetic to what we went through here in the 2000s.
Yeah, actually,
in the 2013s.
That's true.
It'll blow your mind, and they do it in such a funny way that I'm surprised they're still online available because some people won't like what it said.
And we have to be honest that as a Christian to sit there and watch an entire Monty Python, there are some objectionable stuff in there.
Well, Janet doesn't like that kind of humor
and
at all.
I do think that we should always be aware of what we're taking into our spirit. So, let's get that out there because I don't want to get angry email going, you guys are talking about this. I'm talking about the humor.
Correct.
The fact that Monty Python was able to take,
they are all Oxford University graduates.
Yes,
and so they're very well educated.
And Peter Sellers traveled in their circles in the early days. The British humor, they take what is real, what's happening in culture today, and then they're able to poke fun at it. It's called satire.
Correct.
Today there is some people that have been lost on the whole
Now you can only make
thing.
fun today against the 75 million people that voted for Trump.
I know. It's like that's the only thing acceptable. Okay, Renell, what's your other question?
So my question.
So I'm sorry, Shani. I can't grab a favorite.
Well, that means
they
that
don't
you
last
like
that
them.
long.
You like them all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't stare at them that long.
Yeah.
They kind of go by, and I laugh and chuckle and send them around.
So my question for you, Eva, is what led you to be the director of Hawaii Family Forum?
Oh, that's a very good question. It definitely was not by choice. was hired by the Catholic Diocese to work for, at that time, the executive director. It was a brand new established office in the diocese of doing public policy. And when we were shifting over to Hawaii Family Forum, the diocese was closing the office. They weren't getting rid of the office, but they weren't going to fund it anymore. So the people that were employed by it needed to find other jobs. And Hawaii Family Forum was looking for, someone to come in and work with Kelly Rosati at the time. Hawaii Family Forum is celebrating 25 years in Hawaii next year. So stay tuned for that. And what happened is I was just there. And you and I talked about how when we met in the early days of Terry Schiavo and same-sex marriage and all of these issues that were happening at the time, I just kind of followed these greats, and I call them greats. There were a lot of people that were fighting these moral issues on behalf of the Lord, and they were following where the Lord was calling them. And I was just the good Aaron. I was just the good Aaron to Moses. I just kind of followed him around. And in fact, that when you talk about Aaron in the Bible, what did Moses go? Please don't send me. I'm not a good speaker. Bring somebody up. And so I kind of just followed these guys around. I learned under them. And when Kelly transferred back to the mainland, the Family Policy Alliance said, hey, wait a second. You've got somebody there who's been there from the very beginning. Why don't you just promote her? I didn't seek it out. But isn't that a testimony to what the Lord, going back to what we talked about earlier, ministry? I mean, I had no idea, Jim, as a child, that I would be doing any kind of political anything in my life. And my brothers still laugh about that.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be in Hollywood somewhere, not necessarily making movies or whatever, but I looked up to women that had sense of humor. Carol Burnett was my hero. Okay. Love Carol Burnett. So that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. I wanted to grow up and be just like her and Lucille Ball. That's kind of what I wanted to do. And
so I haven't gotten to ask you a question again yet. I only got to the first one. We're running out of time.
All right. So let's.
So what I want to know is, when I was a kid, this person shares your birthday. When I was a kid, it was the scariest movie person ever. Same
Linda
birthday.
Blair, The Exorcist.
When I was a kid.
Oh.
Not when you were a kid.
Oh, that's right. You are older than I am.
So who do you think shares your birthday that was a scary movie person?
Carol Lombard?
No.
A scary person.
The initials are BL.
I don't know. Who?
Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi and I have the same
never
birthday.
saw his Dracula and all that stuff?
Well, his silent.
Super scary. Yes.
Yeah, his silent. And you know what? I actually saw a special on him recently, and he was one of those, what do they call those actors that really get into the role and live it and breathe it and all that. That would have freaked me out. So
that he scared me when I was a kid.
Those were,
and my parents, of course, loved watching scary movies. So I'm watching scary. He was really scary. You got the same birthday as him.
Yeah. Well, I think in this last minute, I think what Jim and I want to do, first of all, we want to say happy birthday to each other. Happy birthday, Jim. And happy birthday to anybody who might be watching if it's your birthday month. But I think even more than that, I want to give a shout out to my mother who gave birth to me, who decided that my life was worth living in spite of the fact that her doctor advised her to have an abortion when she was pregnant with me. She chose to have me instead. I'm here today, and I give my mom all the credit for who I am. So all the mothers out there, when you're thinking about, whether this child you want to bring into the world, just know that this child could be destined for greatness.
So I will say that I learned something about our birthday month recently that I didn't know, and it was very cool. And I'm not saying send us these as presents, but do you know that October is National Pizza Month? Ooh. It is.
Ooh.
I love pizza.
What's your favorite pizza?
I actually like to build my own at Pyology with hot peppers and spicy meat and blue cheese. And it's so good.
All right. Well, I know where we're going for our birthday lunch. Okay. Because we celebrate every year on our birthday lunch. For all of you spending our birthday week with us today, we appreciate you so, so much. Please like, subscribe, share this video. Tell everybody about it. Give us some support if you feel like you want us to stay on the air. And coming up in 2 weeks is Election Day. Oh, actually, in a week. So Jim and I are going to be doing a very special show about election results. So you want to stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, God loves you, and we do too. We'll see you next week. Mahalo, everybody.
Aloha.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Happy birthday.